careers, that's not just a fluke. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think, there's nobody, I don't ever consider myself to hate on someone like that, because I know what they're putting into it. And it's a lot. And it's your life. And there's a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot that goes into reaching that level. And even probably in this second career, I don't know, for all of us, I don't know how hard certain things and parts of life will be, but I'll tell you this, it's probably not going to be as hard as what we went through for a long period of time. We put a lot into football. We put a lot of physical commitment, mental and emotional commitment, 24/7, 7 days a week. I'm happy I don't have to do that again, because that was a lot. So now that we move into different careers, all of us, I think we take the lessons we learned from that work ethic and we can apply it, but it's just not as intense. And for me, I'll speak for myself, I think that's a positive. That's something I'm really looking forward to.
Peyton, take the same level of discipline and focus to TV that you did with the game. I got to give you a background story. When Peyton was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, he invited me so generously, but one of my sons ended up getting COVID, so I couldn't attend. And I remember 2 days before, he's texting me about my plan is to be in Canton. I'm like, this man is going into the Hall of Fame, and I can only imagine the thousands of people that he has to be organized with, and how detailed he was, and where he wanted to sit people, what time they were going to be getting. I mean, his level of detail is just on a whole other level. I was wondering, is your preparation for TV the same?
Well, look. In preparation, it's what Tom was talking about earlier. That's kind of where I felt, I could try to get some kind of edge. Neither of us could outrun anybody, that's clear. But kind of thought we could maybe out-prepare them. And so, I still have my notebook. I still take notes. I enjoy the most, Larry, the conversations that I get to have during the week. We try to talk to the head coach, maybe the coordinator, and the quarterback if we can. 10 minutes, right? Shortest production meeting of your career, Tom, right? I was true at the time. Last couple of years, Joe and my time, you have 10 minutes. If it's 11 minutes, cut me off, right? John Madden used to have us in there on the board, an hour, right? Collinsworth wants to know, I'm 10 minutes, we're in and out, trying to prepare. It was a good way to get ready in whatever it is that you're doing.
At Cleveland Clinic, we believe every breakthrough should be pursued. Because we didn't become the world's best heart care by settling for what is. We paved the way by discovering what is possible. Hear how we care for every care in the world at clevelandclinic.org.
Cody Decker.
Don't forget to listen to our new show, Beetle and Decker, with yours truly, Michelle Beetle, and Cody Decker on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Tune in every weekday from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern as we break down everything in the world of sports. You'll get the most important topics, hear from great guests, and don't forget, we will have tons of fun and laughs along the way.
It's Beetle and Decker, weekdays at noon Eastern, only on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, or anytime on the Sirius XM app, included in all of our trials and popular plans.
To hear Beetle and Decker on Mad Dog Sports Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go. They were each massive hits, but none of them made it to number one on the Billboard Hot 100.
Mamma mia, mamma mia.
We'll count down the biggest hits to stop just short of the top.
Playing games with my
The Billboard number 2 countdown channel, coming Thursday for a limited time on SiriusXM Channel 14 and the SXM app.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I see.
One night.
Oh, it's on.
The Jonas Brothers.
I'm Joe. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Nick. Captured live at Yankee Stadium with another Sirius XM exclusive from their sold-out concert.
Hear it now for a limited time on the SXM app. Included in all trials and popular plans. Search Jonas.
Imagine a long road trip where the designated DJ isn't forced to flip from station to station, avoiding commercials and trying desperately to find a signal, where you're not forced to resort to endless rounds of the license plate game to kill time. Stop imagining and start listening to commercial-free music from nearly every genre, coast to coast. Subscribe to SiriusXM and your music stays with you wherever you hit the interstate or take the back roads. Call 844-711-8800 to activate your radio now.
SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artist you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Rondo Deportes, Banjo, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to me and people who love the universe. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Want to be my neighbor. Shut up! I gotta stop doing the show at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'm thinking in them dead hills all by myself. And then my neighbors complain, all fair #1. But I do want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade. Your standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. If that makes sense to you, as you drive Cadillac cars all across the universe, I do want to take a little bit of pause and just say today's September the 11th, obviously, and love paying homage to our first responders. We all know what happened on the East Coast, 9/11, a lot of ceremonies today, and remembering those who sacrificed everything for this country, and thoughts and prayers with everybody who's been affected by it. But we do have freedom for a cause, no matter what people's thoughts are on what happened with 9/11. I still want to give praise to our first responders because they saved lives, if that makes sense to you. And I want to always give them praise, and may God bless all of us in this great country of ours. Well, as I always say, you can follow Big C Sports on 28 podcast applications all across the universe. Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Good Pod Podcast. You can also find us on Amazon Podcast. Really do appreciate Amazon. Let's go to what came over in August. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on Geosavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Pod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Podyssey, Podcast in Public, and the only one that used to scare me and then it stopped, but sometimes it does again, is AllThings.ai. The robots are taking over. Give the robots some praise, but we got to learn how to turn them off. And I learned how to turn them off. It's called the Teddy app. Teddy app. If you don't know the Teddy app, then you haven't lived. Let me give you a live presentation of the Teddy app. He said, turn off the lights and light a candle. Dun, 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 dun. You see, I'm in a romantic mood, yeah. He said, turn off the lights and come to me. And if a woman didn't listen to him, he said, turn them off. Then she listened. You see, it doesn't work with everybody. I couldn't imagine Michael Jackson saying, turn off the lights and light a candle. Turn them off. It just doesn't work with Michael Jackson's voice. Now, if Teddy comes by, she might just leave with him. So he can only stay for 5 seconds, and that's when he says, turn them off. And you got, now Teddy, you can go. Give Teddy some praise. You gotta go, Teddy. You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get out of here, Teddy. Really do appreciate Teddy Pendergast London telling us how to turn off those robots. I also want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast, I'm the only sports show in the universe that do it all on my own with my hired self. Number one, I produce. Number two, I direct the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We can all use more laughter in our lives. And then I talk faster than any podcaster in the universe. And that's by design. Nobody talks as fast as Big C. Nobody talks as fast. It's Big C. And then all the commercials are done. I do all my commercials pre-roll. And not like other hour shows where they have an hour show, they have 4 pauses. They do 3 or 4 commercials doing those pauses. I just do mine. I keep going and going and going and going until the show says, welcome to the show. Really do appreciate that. I'm telling you, the stats are provided. I do the storytelling. I even do my play-by-play up to the line of scrimmage. 4 wideouts, 5-man front by the Steelers. Oh, I'm telling you, Brock Purdy has a man downfield. He's throwing the ball downfield in his court in the end zone for the touchdown. Brandon Ayuk, touchdown, Niners. You know, I did something like that last week. And who would have known he would have caught 2 touchdowns? You can go back to last week's show, or actually Friday's show, when I projected that the 49ers would win that game. But I called it something like this. First down and 10 at the 50-yard line, up to the line of scrimmage, 4 wideouts. 5-man front by the Steelers. Brandon Ayuk goes in motion. Birdie with the snap. Rolling to his right. Goes downfield. It is caught. Caught for the touchdown. Touchdown, San Francisco. Brandon Ayuk, 50 yards. And what do you know? How did Big C know? I got a clue, but I can't give it away. I've been charting games for a long time. And over the weekend, I think I was right. I've only missed like 4 games. And I don't know how I missed the Denver game because Denver should have won that game. But at all fair level, every now and then Las Vegas will bite me in the backside. They will bite you in the backside. But I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. And I actually beat the odds of Vegas because tonight, the Jets and the Bills game, and playing that game in the Meadowlands, I already told you who I charted to win. I'm not going to back down from it. I got Aaron Rodgers winning this game, and a little bit of clue for both of you, or for the both teams. If you look at the Jets and the Bills, both teams are in the state of New York. But if I look at Josh Allen, he played at Fireball High School in Central California, just about 40 miles northwest of Fresno. And then he went to Reedley College, I think Reedley College or Kings River College in Reedley. And then he went to University of Wyoming. And then he was drafted by the Buffalo Bills. Well, Aaron Rodgers also played in Central California, just in the Sacramento Valley. All of them connected by Highway 99 or Interstate 5. And then that good old boy played at Pleasant Valley High School in Chico. And then he went to Butte Junior College. And then from there he went to Cal Berkeley. And then on to the Green Bay Packers. No one knows that stat but Big C's. Give that some praise. Both California boys, if that makes sense to you. And then the show's uploaded to 28 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City. I'm in Dimdale Hills, California. Really do appreciate the way technology works. And then I never missed a show with Big C Sports Podcast is working with the crew back in the days at Salem Media. And also goes out to 4 TV platforms streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Give that some praise. Now, oftentimes, I will let you hear other sports shows, and they'll put their people out there, and they do their thing, and they got 4 guys sitting around the microphone saying, who's on first? And that's what they got to do. That's what they got to do. Nothing wrong with that. At the same time, I always have God on first, if that makes sense to get us some praise. I want to, especially on a day like today, I want to say, for the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pay homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline on every show. My family's mostly military, and on my father's side and my mother's side. I'm a granddaddy military, and also my father Air Force. I got a brother who's Army, and then a nephew who's Marine. So I really do love paying homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. They will stand under a head to get you some help. I love paying homage to it, the Veterans Crisis Hotline. If you know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone and call. Get them some help. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. 8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on, and they do a really good job of helping out veterans, if that makes sense to you. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1 verse 3, when God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be life. See, some people didn't get that version of the good book, but I found it. If that makes sense to you, love paying homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. Before I get into some football, there's a lot of stuff to get into as well. And I want to read something that came over by Double O. Chairman Daniels of Friends of the African Union pointed out that on August 22nd, 2021, Sister Fudge of the EPA, Joe Biden cabinet, with Executive Order 13985, all 25 cabinets and 65 agencies, the nations agreed to start advancing and implementing equity to the descendants of formerly enslaved African people. You got to understand that, and you got to give that some praise. Not everybody knows that, because I'm pro reparations even more than I'm pro sports, and their laws need to change from the Dora codes that have systematically created death for anything of a darker melanated complexion. Black has no standing in the court of law, and it must change, as most melanated people identify as black or African American. From SF 181 uses these deceptive, malicious words to describe black or African Americans, and it must end for the mental health and well-being of all Americans. And that comes from Double O. I want to give that some praise, because we all need to know that as I'm pro reparations, I'm the only sports show in the universe that talks about more than sports. Most of our black brethren, they say nothing about something that's meant for them. But they'll tell you, touchdown, home run, three-point play, oh man Willie, he's going all the way. You know, Fox News, they had an article on reparations. Fox, you know, the news company that got sued for fake news. They took a news poll of 10 people. 10. And they said California voters issue a strong rebuke to Democrats' plans to offer cash reparations. They took their own poll. It was by Emma Colton, Fox News. It was September 10, 2023. And they said, for reparations when it comes to descendants of child slavery, it says the task force is seeking to punish its citizens. They don't say that about our Jewish brethren. You know what they say about our Jewish brethren? Let me tell you what they say about our Jewish brethren when it comes to reparation. And this stuff is real. You're only going to find it on Big C Sports because too many of our other brethren, they're too busy saying, touchdown, home run, three-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. Now, that Fox News that was sued for $1 billion because of their lies, they don't tell you what Big C tells you. Pull out your cell phone and Google it. If you can't Google what I'm telling you, don't believe me. Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017. Listen up, Fox News. You won't hear this on Fox News. As they say, the task force is looking to punish citizens for helping descendants of chattel slavery. Google, it says the Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is United States legislation that requires the State Department to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist government. It does not say anywhere that they're looking to punish their citizens. That's the garbage that Fox News told about the descendants of child slavery. I just read it to you. Google Survivors Today Act. And no one complained about it. Not one person. Not even Fox lawsuit news. They didn't. So give Big C Sports some praise because I told you what to Google. You don't got to take my word for it. Just Google it if that makes sense to you. Before I get into the big games over the weekend, I got some stuff to talk about. College football, of course, some NFL football, and also some Coco golf. But I'm the only sports show, and you can put this down because it's real. I've been talking about reparations for about 5 years now, and now working with the National Black Wall Street Project, talking about it even more. But I don't wait for nobody. There's an 1,100-page report providing recommendations for lawmakers. Why do you think Fox News talked about reparations? Because they know it's about to happen, so they have to put their spin on it. And I told you, there's no spin of anti-reparations when it comes to our Holocaust survivors. Even the Descendants of Child Slavery gave that praise. Only when they talk about doing things for the Descendants of Child Slavery, some of the mainstream media, because they're part of the Southern Confederacy, they want to say, oh, we can't do that for them. That's why I want to give praise. I'm the only sports show that will do this. Nobody else would do it. I want to give it praise for the California Reparations Task Force. Before I get into the game, I want to congratulate the task force mandated by California Governor Gavin Newsom, Camila Moore, the chair, an attorney of reparative justice. She's brilliant. I want to give her praise. Dr. Amos C. Brown, vice chair. He's brilliant. Love giving him praise. The best senator in the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Had conversations with all of them. Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe, brilliant. I love giving her praise. And then Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer, he's brilliant. Love giving him praise. Dr. Shell Grills, brilliant. Attorney Lisa Holder, brilliant. Love giving her praise. And Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, brilliant. Professor at California Berkeley, love giving him praise. And Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, brilliant. I love giving him praise. And you can too, making sure that we get our reparations the same way we got for our Holocaust survivors. And the fact that Fox News came on and talked about it, you know it's getting close, if that makes sense to you. Love doing that. Well, as I always tell you, I don't want to be like the others. I do want to congratulate the Associated Press. You can't get much bigger than that. She called me about an article she put together on March 29th. You can Google it, 2023. It was at a reparations meeting, task force meeting in California. And I said, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. And I said, what made you call me? And she said, well, I heard you speak. And you're not like the others. And she said, so can you tell me, Mr. Curry, what is your thought on reparations? I said, reparations now? Reparations forever? And she said, well, I haven't asked you a question yet. I said, I don't care what it is, it's reparations. But why did she call one beautiful, intelligent black man to ask my thoughts on reparations? There's a lot of people that have been propped up in the media. I'm talking about she called a sports guy. She didn't call the network news. Google the article. California Reparations, March 29th, 2023. I'm the only person that she called. And she also mentioned President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, California Governor, and Gavin Newsom. But as a sports show, she called a sports show to ask my thoughts on reparations. She didn't call the guys that are propped up by the media. You've heard some of them speak. They have nothing to say when it benefits descendants of child slavery other than touchdown, home run, three-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. Man, I love watching you play. Oh, I love the way you run up and down the field. I've never seen anyone throw a ball like you. But Big C Sports does. And you should too. Because it's important. Black Americans built this country. Our descendants of child slavery built this country because black has no standing in law. It has no standing in the court. That's why when they talk about Holocaust heirs and survivors, they don't mention Jewish people. They just say Holocaust survivors. Because black or African American has no standing in court. That's why the task force so brilliantly described it as descendants of child slavery. But the news and Fox Sports, they said black Americans. Because they want to start, the Southern Confederate and the Ku Klux Klan lost the Civil War, but they didn't stop having babies. Because they listen to Teddy Pendergrass too. It was just a little bit slower version, if that makes sense to you. But that's my story, and I'm taking give that some praise. As I love on every show, I love praising my family. Before I do every show, that's where I come from. From my mother's side, my beautiful great grandmother called her Mama, a beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family. and lots of food in the belly. And then my beautiful great-granddaddy called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player, known around his church buddies of making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. And saying, boys, get out of that barn. And he talked as fast as I do. That's where I get it from. He talks fast because he had so many grandkids. He didn't have time to say, excuse me, boys, hello, boys, come on, boys, listen, boys, I'm trying to get your attention, boys, I'm going to give you a timeout, boys, I'm going to give you a timeout. He didn't talk that way. He said, boys, he said, get out of that barn now. Now, sometimes we didn't understand them, but we scattered anyway, if that makes sense to you. And then my beautiful grandmother, my dear, beautiful, loving, kind woman, a seer. She could look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. She still helps me to this day. Really do appreciate her. And then my grandfather Hezekiah, another wonderful person, a seer. Nowadays they call them psychics, but they could look at people and tell you a lot about them and things that are going to happen, and they often did. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then coaching all boys a Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give my mama some praise. I'm telling you, always seeing rise and shine. A Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys a Little League baseball team to the championship. Love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. The best person I ever met in my life. And then on my father's side, my granddaddy Albert Curry, a former pastor, had 2 churches in Oakland. He built a 3rd church in Central California with his own hands. And then he also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Badcroft and the other on Foothill. I remember because we would always go there and see how many penny bubble gums we could buy. And then a penny bubble gum really cost a penny. Nowadays, a penny bubble gum is like 25 cents. You do the math, if that makes sense to you. Whether do appreciate him. But he owned 40 acres of land. Like the Emancipation Proclamation, when President Abraham Lincoln was working with Frederick Douglass to craft the Emancipation Proclamation and told black men, if you join the Union and help us win the Civil War, I'll give you your freedom. And unfortunately, when President Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill and gave the land back to the Southern Confederates. And many of them benefit today with their ancestry and their offspring. So when people on Fox News or other negative programs that got fined $1 billion for lying, when they started telling you that the task force is trying to punish its citizens, they didn't say that when it came to benefiting our descendants of Holocaust survivors. You draw the line. And we never got our 40 acres in the mule. But it's coming. Give that some praise. I said give it praise. Really do appreciate that. And then my beautiful grandmother working side by side with my granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland and building a 3rd church in Central California. Really do appreciate her working with the gas stations in Oakland. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway in Oakland. And I was on my way down the hallway. It's 10 o'clock at night. I felt someone touch me on my forehead. And I said, what in the world are you doing up at 10 o'clock? Don't you normally go to bed at 8:30? She said, what are you doing, young man, going to get some more cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap to me, Grandma. I'm looking for my reparations. And she said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. Now, isn't that something that the Associated Press, Jenny Harr, she called Big C Sports, Charlton Curry, because she said, I heard you speak at a reparations task force. There must have been about 500 people there, plus people who called in. So at the same time, you got to understand that when I think about these things that happen in life, it's already like it was already in the stars. That's why I appreciate my beautiful grandmother. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly so we can all stay safe at night, always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. And then my father in the Air Force, his roommate was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And Denzel has a #1 movie now, but I was hoping it would have been Reparations now, Reparations forever. Imagine they keep giving Denzel awards for beating people up and playing the bad guy, working with the mob. But he's too brilliant. What if Denzel could let me write a script where he says reparations now, reparations forever, and give that some praise? Which is too brilliant just to play a bad guy in a movie. He's a brilliant man. But if that's what it is, that's the way it is. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Really do love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd, with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning. When Thomas speak, always saying go forward. A voracious reader, love talking about politics and sports. Really do appreciate Todd. And then my beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. She set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football, that is previewing tonight, started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before. They are normally on ESPN. But then what thing happened? Shenanigans set in. And I was told, I heard it through the grapevine, if 2 N-words can do it, we can bring in some insurrectionists. And they brought in shenanigans. And the show went away. And that's a shame. They could have supported us. She also would help set up when college kids or college programs would come to the West Coast and do work with Big C Sports. But she also scored 6 goals in a soccer game. She was left-footed. This is Daisy with the kick, Daisy with the goal, goal! And she's right-footed, so she's ambidextrous. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I always pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And at the same time, just trust God in everything you do. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, a senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. As I always tell you, pray Isaiah 54:17 that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Malcolm actually helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspapers and look up stats for Big C Sports for players and teams. One day Malcolm said, Dad, he said, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now I'm on 28 podcast applications and 4 TV platforms, and give that some praise because he said it first. And then one day Malcolm said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports, and you'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. He prophesied over it. Like Romans 4:17, you got to speak things that be not as though they were. Within a short period of time, I got to call Big C. We got your show streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Malcolm, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. You can be anything you want to be. Just always give God praise. And then Big C, with all that wealth and knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. I love saying, welcome to the show, SB-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no teleprompters, no producer in my ear. But what I do have is a little bit of intuition. Now, I don't know what's going to happen tonight in the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, but the Buffalo Bills, they make a trip down to East Rutherford, New Jersey, and they're taking on the New York Jets. It's the final game of Week 1. Kickoff already underway at MetLife Stadium, and it's kicked off at 8:15 p.m. You can follow it on ESPN. And there's so many different narratives of this game. I told you, both quarterbacks grew up in California. Josh Adams went to, it was Fireball High School. Yeah, it was Fireball High School. And Josh Allen, Fireball High School. And then I think Kings River College or Wheatley College down there near Fresno. And then he went to Wyoming. And Aaron Rodgers went to Pleasant Valley High School in Chico. And then Butte Junior College. And then Cal Berkeley. And then to the Green Bay Packers. Nice with the New York Jets. So both players started in high school in California, Central California, went to junior colleges, then went to D1 colleges, and then got drafted to the NFL. You're only going to hear that on Big C Sports. Give that some praise. Nobody else knows. But Big C knows. At the same time, there's something about this game that I think gives the advantage to Aaron Rodgers. I'm thinking because he got the Dalvin Cook, Minnesota didn't want to re-sign him, and then Breece Hall in the backfield. Breece Hall may or may not play tonight, but the Bills look to connect the dots with a good roster also, You got wide receiver Stephon Diggs, who can catch anything. But at the end of the day, Von Miller is not expected to play. That's less pressure on Aaron Rodgers. I look at the money line, and that's why I'm leaning toward the New York Jets. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right, but I've only lost on 4 games so far this week. And the Jets come in, they're given 1.5, so 1.5 points underdogs. The Bills are favored by 1.5, but earlier they were favored by 2.5. So that something's moving with the point spread in Vegas. Depends on where money pours in. And some people think, I'm going to go with my favorite team. But you got to pay attention to how Big C reads games. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm pretty accurate. The Bills linebacker, Von Miller, who will be a Hall of Famer, he's on the unable to perform list. That's less pressure on touchdown Aaron Rodgers. Now, Breece Hall has a knee. He's questionable. But the Bills at the Jets, many people are predicting this to be maybe a 1-score game. And I think it will be also. But I'm going just because Von Miller's not playing, and Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is a better quarterback than Josh Allen. He's more savvy. Definitely has more playoff experience. And they're at home. And it's New York City. And they got good old boys that answer the phone and somebody pulls a hamstring. No pun intended. But the Bills have a lot of pieces that they feel they need to win and maybe even make a run at a Super Bowl. But they've been saying that for the last couple of years. So now they go from a 2.5-point favorite down to the 1.5-point favorite. And I'm looking, in my opinion, if you want a quarterback, if you're down by 4 with 2 minutes to play, who do you want to have the ball in his hands? Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers? I'm still going to go with Aaron Rodgers until I'm proven wrong. And I just feel that this is the best team the Jets have had in a long time. Buffalo, we know what happened with them last year. They just came up short. A lot of people thought they'd be in the Super Bowl last year, but that didn't happen. So in my own thinking is both teams are very, very good. But I also know that sometimes you gotta have some good old boy favorite on your side. They're in New York City of all places. And sometimes the good old boys don't take too kindly to not covering the point spread. I can't wait to see the game. At the same time, the team that wins, they're going to be chasing or tied for first place in the AFC East because the Chargers lost to Miami. So Miami right now is in first place. New England lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. So the team that wins tonight will be tied for first place. And I have a feeling it's going to be the Jets. The Jets, Jets. Now, I may be wrong, but that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Passing games to just run down the scores on Sunday night. It was the Dallas Cowboys 40, the New York Giants nothing. They laid an egg. The Green Bay Packers 30, Chicago Bears 20. Las Vegas Raiders went into the Mile High City and beat the Denver Broncos 17-16. The Miami Dolphins won down in Denver Hills, California in front of the Lightning. They won over the Los Angeles Chargers. That was a good game, 36-34. Could have gone either way. Philadelphia Eagles 25, New England Patriots 20. And the shocker of the day, in my opinion, the Los Angeles Rams 30, the Seattle Seahawks 13. Who would have thought? And then the Atlanta Falcons 24, Carolina Panthers 10, Baltimore Ravens with the Superman Jackson 25, Houston Texans 9, and then Cleveland. This is for you. Joe Burrow just got the biggest contract in the history of the NFL, and they scored 3 points. Deshaun Watson coming off the most maligned media smear maybe in the history of the NFL, the 24-3 over Cincinnati. Jacksonville Jaguars 31, Indianapolis Colts 21, and I can't believe what I'm going to tell you. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield 20, Minnesota Vikings 17, at Minnesota, New Orleans. Who that said they're going to beat them Saints? Not the Tennessee Titans, New Orleans 16, and the Tennessee Titans 15. I told you there's gold in them there hills. San Francisco 49ers 30, Pittsburgh Steelers 7. I think that's the worst home loss that Mike Tomlin's had with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when you look at what's going on with the 49ers, they are so loaded. Nick Bosa, the biggest contract for defensive linemen, didn't get a sack, but the 49ers are all over the Pittsburgh Steelers, sacking them several times. And then the Washington Commanders with Eric Bieniemy, the 20, the Arizona Cardinals, the 16, All's Fair, and Levin War. And to give that some praise, I got my stories on it. How about those Cowboys? You know, Jerry Jones was partying down south. The Cowboys picked up where they left off. Dallas earned a reputation for not really winning the big games last year. But last year they had the leading, think about this, they led the league with 33 takeaways. That defense was special, and they beat the Giants. I thought they would beat the Giants. I predicted it on the show on Friday, but I didn't think they shut them out. Something happened with the Giants. They just didn't play. I don't think they're going to get shut out again this year. But they played Dallas Cowboys. They look really good. Really love the way they played. If they can play that way all year, obviously they'll win, or at least challenge Philadelphia for the top spot. Now, Dak Prescott and company, they were not amazing, but the defense was amazing. And even though Prescott produced numbers, 13 completions, 143 yards, he didn't have to. He just didn't have to. At the same time, their defense is so legit. Tony Pollard, again, no Ezekiel Elliott. He had 2 touchdowns, 82 yards, and 16 carries. So they're going to be fine down in Dallas. Nothing to really complain about down in Texas, except the one big question is, can they do it? Can they do it for the playoffs? Playoffs? Yeah, playoffs. Because in Dallas, every year is about playoff or bust. And if you don't get the playoffs in Dallas, then they'll start calling for the coach's head. They'll start saying that they got to cut Dak Prescott or that they got to get rid of McCarthy. I like what Dallas is doing this year. And I like what they were doing last year. If their offense doesn't have to play great and they can win 40-0, that tells you that Dallas is in really good hands and having a chance to win in the NFC East. That's my story. I'm taking with it. I got the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears 38-20. What's Love got to do with it? Love came out of Liberty High School in Bakersfield, California. A lot of California quarterbacks doing their thing. And he led the Packers to their 9th straight win over the Bears. I'm telling you, there's something about Jordan Love. He played at Utah State. He backed up Aaron Touchdown Rodgers for many, many moons. And now he looks pretty good. This is a quarterback that people wanted to get rid of. Reminds me a lot of Trey Lance. But he finally got his chance in a big blowout win over the Bears. So the Bears cut into the Packers' lead late. In the third quarter, they trimmed the deficit to 10 points. And all the momentum was on Chicago's side. But there's something about that quarterback for Green Bay. His name is Jordan Love. He hit rookie Jayden Reed for 18 yards on a 3rd and 8. And then Luke Musgrave for 37 yards. And then Romeo Doubs on a 4-yard touchdown. This kid has all the ability to lead this team, the Green Bay Packers, back to the playoffs. Think about what he's learned from Aaron Rodgers, who sit the bench for a couple of years as he watched Brett Favre. And now Love had to do the same thing, sit the bench for a couple of years as he was able to learn under touchdown Aaron Rodgers playing tonight. And I think it's going to benefit Green Bay. The Bears struggled to get Justin Fields going. The Bears trailed 24-6 in the third quarter, and they ran twice, draining minutes off the clock before Fields fumbled on a sack. I think Fields is going to be okay, but they have him doing too much. They just got to keep rebuilding if you're Chicago. But I do like what the Green Bay Packers did, winning there and dominated. The Packers running back Aaron Touchdown Jones, he finished with 86 yards receiving, and all 86 were after the catch on 2 receptions. What a great player. And then Justin Fields led the Bears rushing on Sunday with 59 yards. He now leads Chicago in rushing in 10 of the past 12 games. If your quarterback is your leading rusher, that's not good for your team, if that makes sense to you. Again, how about those Raiders? I thought the Denver Broncos would win this game up in Mile High City. The Raiders 17, Denver Broncos 16. Jimmy Garoppolo got a win over Russell Wilson. And I'm telling you something about this team, the Raiders. The Raiders have had the Denver Broncos number. The Raiders overcome costly mistakes. If they cut down the mistakes, I know Super Bowl 58 at Allegiant Field in Las Vegas, Big C Sports will be there. Will the Raiders be there? I don't think so, because Denver could have won this game. They just chose to make too many mistakes. But Las Vegas scored the result it desired. they went to the Mile High City and they got a win. Now the Raiders, this is why they won't win the AFC West. The Raiders committed 10 penalties. And 6 of those 10 penalties gave Denver a new set of downs. You cannot do that. They would score touchdowns and get a personal foul. The Raiders still held their opponent to just 16 points. But at the same time, they're not a disciplined team. Jimmy Garoppolo, the first-year Raider, eventually led the 12th fourth-quarter comeback of his career. Before that, his team, they were struggling to not have self-destruction. The Raiders won this game because Denver, they're still trying to learn that system. They're still trying to learn it. But think about what happened for the Raiders. 19 targets, 26 attempts, 200 yards. Between Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams, this might be the best receiver in NFL. I mean, he's legit. Came out of Fresno State. But there's something about the Raiders and their lack of discipline. If you score a touchdown and you're trying to jab with the guy you just beat, that's foolishness. Josh Jacobs amassed 71 total yards, only got 2.5 yards per carry. I think the Broncos lost this game more than the Raiders won this game. That's just my opinion. Russell Wilson, he looks close to what he did in Seattle at times, and then at the same time throwing just 2 incompletions on 19 first-half attempts, with one of those being a spike to stop the clock. He capped off 2 drives of 75-plus yards with touchdown throws, and the team went into halftime with a 13-10 lead. But they couldn't get things going in the second half. So Denver still has to work on some things, but you gotta give the Raiders some praise. You got 10 penalties and you still win. They can't do that if Denver played better. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Got another game I want to highlight. The Miami Dolphins, 36. The Los Angeles Chargers, 34. Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill put up historic Week 1 numbers. And Tua, obviously, he's a lot better now. Concussed a lot last year. Was kind of concerned about the young man. But he's playing the way they expected him to play. Tua and the Dolphins make a statement down in front of all that lightning down in Los Angeles. And when you think about this game, the moment Justin Herbert established his place among the NFL's brightest young passers, Miami fans have been hoping for Tua Tagovailoa to catch up. On Sunday, he did just that. He was 28 of 45, 466 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The lone blemish coming when he threw a jump ball toward Braxton Berrios in the end zone, and that ended in a J.C. Jackson interception. But he was not fazed. The Dolphins regained possession, throwing a 35-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill, might be the fastest guy in the NFL, who exploded for 215 receiving yards and 2 scores. I guess Kansas City really does miss him. He went to Miami for more money, and it proved to be the right thing. Austin Eckler proved his worth, 164 yards, including 117 on the ground. And the Chargers are a good team. This was a down-to-the-wire game. Both teams capable of winning, and both teams, they put up a lot of points. And Miami's defense showed glimpses of potential. The Dolphins gave up 433 yards and 24 points. That's not good. But sometimes you just got to outscore your opponent. I like both teams. I had the Chargers pick to win that one, but lightning struck. Who would have thought that a Dolphin could have survived a lightning strike? So I hit a little bit of Dolphin on that one. The Philadelphia Eagles, 25. The New England Patriots, 20. Tom Brady, they retired. It was a celebration for Tom Brady in the rain. And that defense for the Eagles, they kept raining. Eagles fly high because they take themselves lightly. The Eagles defense is spearheads a hot start, and they held on late. Darius Slay intercepted Mac Jones on the Patriots' first drive of the game, and he weaved his way for a 70-yard score. And I'm telling you, there's something about this defense for Philadelphia. The next play from scrimmage, Jordan Davis stripped Ezekiel Elliott. He set up a short score to put Philly up 16-0. And then they started to coast, and the good old boys from New England, they came back and made a game of it. But I'll tell you something about this team in Philadelphia. Most teams, when they lose the Super Bowl, they don't make the playoffs the next year. I think not only will they make the playoffs, they'll be right there in contention for the NFC East. When I look at Jalen Touchdown Hurts, he really took a lot of deep shots. Only one Eagles pass playing more than 15 yards. The ground game was stymied at 3.9 yards per attempt on 25 carries. They won because their defense. Philly finished with 251 total yards and only 17 first downs. The Eagles were 4 of 13 on third down conversions and 0-1 on fourth down. They got to get better, and they will. But when you have a defense like theirs, you can win a lot of games. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles. How about those Rams? The Rams went up to Seattle at Lumen Field and shocked the Seahawks 30-13. I was not expecting that, but it happened. But I said there's no Cooper Kupp. How could the Rams win? He has a hamstring issue. Didn't make a difference. They played like they were the Rams that went to the Super Bowl. Maybe Seattle was in over their head. It was just perfect timing for Seattle to win that game. They had a staggering Rams defense coming in there. The offense didn't have all of the great receivers and Cooper Kupp. And Seattle got off to a fast start, but something happened, and I don't know quite what it is. DK Metcalf, one of the few bright spots for the Seahawks. He had a career-high 90 receptions, 1,048 yards last season. He opened this campaign, 3 receptions, 47 yards, and 1 touchdown. And I thought he was going to have a big game, but something happened where they ran out of steam. Geno Smith was pressured a lot by the Rams defense. Metcalf did not have a catch in the second half and was penalized for taunting in the fourth quarter. He must have thought he was playing for the Raiders. Matthew Stafford, looking like he did in 2021, 24 of 38, 334 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. And the Super Bowl champion was not sacked in the game. The Rams, they go back to SoFi this weekend, and they take on the Niners. Now, the 49ers will have more fans at SoFi Stadium, but this Rams, they're a different breed of Ram than the team that played last year. It's going to be a game the 49ers have to play better to win. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The Atlanta Falcons, I'm telling you what a beautiful stadium Mercedes-Benz Stadium is down in Atlanta, 24-10 over the Carolina Panthers. Running back Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, they fuel the Falcons' sluggish offense. It's no shock the Falcons had their great success in Week 1 running the football. At the same time, this team has to play better. They just do. Why do I say that? Because they played a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, had a trying NFL debut. He doesn't have an offensive line. First-round overall pick, Heisman Trophy winner, out of University of Alabama and Model Day High School in Santa Ana. It was Young's first start. It was a tough one, even if the moment did not look too big. He was picked off twice by safety Jesse Bates on similar-looking interceptions. But he's going to get better from it. He was 20 of 38, 146 yards. But his offensive line is not that good. I'm going to give Bryce Young a pass this year. No pun intended. They got to get better at the offensive line, and he can't do it all. But he does have a bright future ahead of him. Baltimore Ravens with Superman Lamar Jackson with a 25-9 win over the Houston Texans. And when you look about Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, he suffered a torn Achilles in the win over the Texans, so he's out for the season. And that's a tough thing about football. But it is, next man up, it has to be. Even Superman Lamar Jackson looked a little bit rusty, fumbling twice. He lost one, and he threw an interception in the first half. But Baltimore's star quarterback completed 77% of his passes. He was 17 of 22, 169 yards, and flashed his ability to make plays with his legs, rushing for 38 yards. The Ravens defense, they settled down. This team is going to be fine. They got to find a way to get some help. Dobbins being out now, so that, to me, is kind of tough. And C.J. Stroud for the Texans, he had his first drive as a pro. It ended with a head-scratching play action from a shotgun in the 4th and 1 that resulted in a sack and a turnover on downs. And Stroud was 28 of 44, 242 yards. No touchdowns, but he did find his rhythm out of Ohio State. Also played at Rancho Cucamonga in California. California has a lot of football players that are playing in the NFL. But I do feel that for Odell Beckham Jr., the Ravens' prize offseason acquisition had 2 catches, 37 yards, and provided a key block on a third quarter score. He's going to get better with Superman Jackson. I think the Ravens are going to be fine. Cleveland, this is for you. Cleveland 24, Cincinnati Bengals 3. They just gave Joe Burrow all the money in the world, and they got 3 points to show for it. Lamar Jackson, I'm telling you, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and Joe Burrow, and that division, some great quarterbacks. But Deshaun Watson came out and he did his thing for Cleveland. Cleveland's a really good team. The defense was a disaster at times when you look at what happens with them. But at the same time, this is a team that beat up on the Cincinnati Bengals, America's darling team. Cincinnati came out of the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, and they lost to the Rams. But Cincinnati did not have a chance at pulling off a comeback in this game. Joe Burrow loses another one in Cleveland. This game stands as an all-time low for Burrow in a series of road defeats at the Browns. He completed just 14 of 31, 82 yards, in an offense that totaled only 142 yards. Deshaun Watson had a number of passes fall short of their intended target, but the Bengals struggled to show any signs of life for most of the afternoon. I think both teams will get better, but I really do like what I saw in the Cleveland Browns in a dominating fashion. Jacksonville got wild up in Indianapolis with a 31-21 win over the Indianapolis Colts. And obviously, Calvin Ridley, no rust for him. That good old boy can play. I really like what I'm going to see in Trevor Lawrence. He looks ready to make a leap into stardom, and I think he will. Anthony Richardson, he's only a rookie. He's going to get better. We know he's going to get better. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So many people thought that Tampa Bay could not go into Minnesota and win. I was one of them, but they get the win 2017 over the Vikings. Baker Mayfield over Kirk Cousins. I did not see that coming. Minnesota won 13 games in 2022, 11 of them with one score. How'd they lose 2017? They lost to Baker Mayfield and his mobility in the quarterback position that helped them get over on the Vikings. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. New Orleans 16-15 over the Tennessee Titans. Got to give Derek Carr some praise. He was much maligned in Las Vegas and Oakland, but he led that team to a win down in the South. And they got to think about King Henry. He's still trying to get those legs going. He only rumbled for 46 yards. That's not good. At the same time, he finished actually 63 yards on 15 carries. He doesn't seem to have the same burst of speed that he used to have. The last game I'll close on from yesterday in the NFL, San Francisco 30, Pittsburgh Steelers 7, the biggest loss. Thomas home, team lost his worst loss in Pittsburgh since he's been head coach. They've never had a losing season. And then Bosa had a decent game. Purdy shut up some haters, and the 49ers blowout win over those good old boys from Pittsburgh that's still sitting. Deebo Samuel, I'm telling you, what a great player Brandon Ayuk did. He's 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel did similar things. And Christian McCaffrey, nearly unstoppable, 152 yards rushing on 22 carries, had a 65-yard touchdown scamper. You can go on and on and on about how good the 49ers are. They are a big seeds pick to win Super Bowl 58 down in the desert. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Everybody has their own thoughts on who the great players are. Washington got the 2016 win over Arizona. As I said earlier, congratulations, Eric Bieniemy, as the offensive coordinator. And sometimes people didn't want to give him credit at Kansas City, but he got it done. But as the great Rod Stewart said, he said, tonight's the night. Yeah, tonight's the night in New York City. Who's going to win this game? Will the Jets knock off the Buffalo Bills? I think so. It's just all lined up to be something that they can brag about. I think the Jets can knock off the Buffalo Bills. Will they do it? I don't know. But that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Also want to congratulate the great Coco Gauff doing her thing in New York City. I'm telling you, they showed a video when she was a young 8-year-old girl dancing in the stands. But Novak Djokovic also had a 24th Grand Slam win. But another night for U.S. Open in Queens. New York is behind us. While every major tournament is special, this one felt different. On the women's side, 19-year-old American Coco Gauff. Give that sister some praise. She won her first major title, and she deserves congratulations. On the men's side, Novak Djokovic won his 24th major, the Grand Slam singles title in men's history. That's amazing. Both of them deserve a standing ovation and some praise. I'm telling you, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Alabama got bounced by Texas. USC beat up on Stanford. I got Georgia still ranked number 1. I know Michigan's ranked number 2, but I think USC should be number 2 right now. And then at the same time, Notre Dame, they won big down in Carolina. But football is just getting off. Washington looks really good. They got another big win. Oregon won on the road down in Texas. At the end of the day, I can't wait until we expand the college football playoffs. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. Call Uber. Call Lyft. Walk it off. Sleep it off. Give somebody the keys. Don't drink and drive. The life you save may be your own or somebody you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, you know what time it is. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Jubudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat because all these Big C burgers make me out of my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911 because things change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super, fantastic day. Now we honor President Abraham Lincoln. Irrespective of Fox News, he said reparations now, reparations forever. Let's praise President Abraham Lincoln again for what he said. When he said reparations now, reparations forever. Now say it as if your team just won the game. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super, fantastic day.